Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Matt Jarbo here, $3 Theater. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever it is you celebrate. I am just happy that you're here. If you're like me, you are a massive, huge Star Wars fan who feels the Force flowing through him in regards to what we saw in The Mandalorian last week, and you probably want to know more about what's going on with Star Wars going into the future. Now, I was asked to be part of Mikey Stutton's Xmas Scoop Jam for the year, and he tossed me a couple bits of information about The Mandalorian, and of course, who's been behind The Mandalorian. And I talked about that in another video, which you guys can check out as well. But this one, I want to talk about what's going to be coming down the pipeline. If you saw Chapter 13, The Jedi, you remember Ahsoka Tano dropping a very, 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 very popular name with old school Star Wars fans, especially those who've been around for the EU. When she mentioned Thrawn, you probably heard a lot of people's heads just pop from across the Star Wars fandom. And of course, this has a lot of people going, what's going on? What's going to happen now? And here's what Mikey Stutton is telling me. So of course, as always, take this grain of salt, take this absolutely however you want to take it. But Mikey did say that Thrawn would be making an appearance in The Mandalorian back on May 9th. So even though it was a reference in name only, can't really fault the guy too much on it if he made that claim a long time ago and it still came true. So again, I would say give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he's earned that at this point. So here's what we essentially know. Dave Filoni, for one, is a massive fan of the EU, and he's a huge fan of Heir to the Empire, Timothy Zahn's first volume for the Thrawn series. Thrawn is a massively popular EU character that was long lost dead until he randomly reappeared on the season premiere of Star Wars Rebels back in the fall of 2016. And that went all the way through to season 4 with the ending of the series. And that leaving a lot of people asking the question, wait, what the hell's going on with Ezra? What the hell's going on with Thrawn? And will we ever see them again following the epilogue of the show when Ahsoka and Sabine head off to go and try to find them? So a lot of people have been wondering if we're ever going to see these characters again. Well, with Ahsoka becoming live action and her mentioning Thrawn, you can pretty much guess that we are in fact going to be getting Thrawn in live action. So this is what I know. Heir to the Empire is one that they are currently looking to adapt, but it could go one of two different ways. So according to Mikey here, this is from one insider. One insider told him that they could be looking to kind of fill out a ragtag team of Avengers in order to take that team into an adaptation of Heir to the Empire and telling us that particular storyline in the theatrical experience, or one that could happen on the small screen with Disney Plus. And we don't quite know yet exactly what it's going to be because it's all up in the air at this point in time. Anything could happen. So let's talk about what we know in the situation in order to kind of give it a good rundown. Think of it like this. With The Mandalorian Season 2, it played out very similar to, well, Iron Man 2, where it was more or less a setup film for the Avengers. In The Mandalorian Season 2, many people ask the question, is Mando just a guest in his own show? Is he not the main star? Because we kept having big reveals and big announcements what felt like every single episode. It was introducing somebody new from the franchise, from the fandom. Every other episode. Ahsoka, Cobb Vanth, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, Luke Skywalker, R2-D2. All this craziness that we saw throughout the course of the 8 episodes really did just broaden the world of Star Wars by encompassing not only the EU, but there are references to comic books, there's references to the Krayt Dragon from KOTOR, there's references to the animated shows, there are references to the EU as a whole. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what about the EU? Wasn't that killed in 2014? Yeah, it was. It was killed in 2014 when they wanted to focus on the new canon. That, in my opinion, was a publishing decision made more by Disney, who wanted to establish a new canon and a new timeline to sell not only The Force Awakens, but the sequel trilogy and whatever else they wanted to have come down the pipeline. And I think they did that very poorly. And I think it was spearheaded by Kathleen Kennedy. And Kathleen Kennedy's attempt to work with Rian Johnson in order to let the past die, kill it if you have to, clearly is not the same mantra that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau want. Okay, and we've already seen how in this particular regard, they have in fact won that debate. And when I talk about that, I also talk about Kevin Feige and his particular involvement with the franchise, because I did touch upon that the other day in a video where I asked the question, is he more or less like a hidden producer or a stealth producer on the franchise? I have another video coming where I talk more about Kevin Feige's involvement with information also provided by Mikey Stutton. But that being said, we can tell that Kevin Feige, huge Star Wars fan, big fan of the EU, Dave Filoni, big fan of the EU. In fact, even looking at General Thrawn's page on the Wikipedia, it's led by a quote by Dave Filoni. So we know, we absolutely know that they know that Filoni is a huge fan. And if he's working on an Ahsoka series and they mentioned Thrawn and he brought Thrawn back for Rebels, we can see that Thrawn is essentially the new Thanos, and that they are probably going to find a way to make Heir to the Empire either a cinematic event over on Disney Plus, or because, and we did hear about this from Alan Horn following the release of The Mandalorian back in I think early 2020 or late 2019, they're open with taking it to the movies. They're open with taking that to making it a cinematic experience because of the popularity of the show. So we can kind of see here that Heir to the Empire is going to be the Thrawn Endgame. But there's one more caveat you may want to know about. Who pops up in Heir to the Empire that is another fan favorite character? And that, of course, is Mara Jade. Mara Jade has been rumored to come for quite some time now. I think I even broke one of those scoops a while ago provided by Mikey. And this would make a lot of sense if because they brought back Luke. They brought back Luke. They mentioned Thrawn. Do you not think that Mara Jade is not that far behind? So I think that's going to be a thing. No word on how that's going to happen. No word on how that's going to play out at all, but just that it's potentially coming. When you think about it, when you really stop and you really think about it for a second, Star Wars on Disney Plus is absolutely modeling itself after the Avengers. It is going to be pulling from the comics. It's going to be pulling from the books. It's going to be pulling from the games. It's going to be pulling from the fandom to give us something that makes us feel good about being Star Wars fans, that give us something that's going to be worthy of us being Star Wars fans. Season 2 was simply a setup for what's to come. The villain drop of Thrawn was brought in there, very similar to the ending of Avengers when we have that profile shot of Thanos, not realizing that it would take another 6 years to get to him, but to know that he was the one pulling the strings from behind the curtain. We've been asking ourselves, who is Moff Gideon working for? Who is Moff Gideon working for in an attempt to clone the Emperor or to provide him with a clone body to house, Snoke, right? Well, Thrawn. They've already kind of established it. They've already kind of built that up. And now we're going to see that play out. This season was about sprinkling nuggets, connecting us to the sequel trilogy. And they're going to spend a fair amount of time trying to get us there. I mean, I don't know if it's going to work, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's going to find a way to make it any better. But what I do know is that I'm excited and that I feel hopeful. And that the hopefulness I felt when Disney first released The Force Awakens 5 years ago is back. The excitement, the titillation, the anticipation for what's going to come down the pipeline is going to be amazing. And I'm glad that it's here, and I'm glad that it's coming. And if we get Thrawn, if we get the adaptation of Heir to the Empire, which is going to be difficult unless they give us some kind of Princess Leia situation, which I don't think they're going to do, they're going to have to find a way to adapt it that's going to be true to the story, but also kind of take in the liberties that they have to take in. I think people will be happy with it because the people behind it won't be Kathleen Kennedy and Rian Johnson. It's going to be Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, hopefully Robert Rodriguez, maybe Kevin Feige. People who fundamentally care about the past of Star Wars and don't want to see it die, but want to see it flourish. And to tell new stories for a whole new audience of people that 30 years ago when these books premiered had no idea they existed, and are going to be given the same kind of thing that old school fans want, which is to be treated with respect, to be shown amazing stories with great characters, and to be happy to be Star Wars fans again. I don't know about you. I'm freaking excited. But anyway, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your opinions on this one. Let me know down in the comments section. Thank you again to Mikey for involving me in the Scoop Jam. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys all later. Have yourself a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you might celebrate. See you guys. Peace out.